Hi Barry, good afternoon.
Good afternoon again.
We're going to have a conversation about how we respond to the needs of our local community. How I'd like to start off is by saying that at the heart of any community organisation has to be a philosophy to serve the local community. You know, that's how we've come into being. That's how Building Bridges Pendle came into being, in the sense that there were some needs of the local community in Pendle over 25 years ago to have a better understanding of each other between the cultural and racial divide that existed, and to promote a sense of harmony and respect and understanding between people. And that was a need which some like-minded people picked up on. They didn't need a kind of an outside consultant to come into the area to do a study and say these are some of the issues within Pendle. They lived here, and they could see on their doorstep what were issues that needed to have someone to respond to them. So they got together, imams and ministers, and they brought together different sections of the community to meet in church halls, it was initially, and to say, because we don't fully understand each other in terms of cultural lifestyle or religious adherence, doesn't mean that we have to have this sense of fear of each other and a sense of we can't really get along with each other, because if we start to talk to each other, we'll find out that we actually have lots in common, much more in common than what we have, which is, you know, a kind of a difference between us. And even though there are differences, that doesn't necessarily need to mean that we can't get along with each other. We can't have this sense of oneness as a community and as a society. And it's how Building Bridges came into being, and I feel that philosophy has stayed with the organisation to always be in touch with what are the needs of the community in which we live. You know, that is our purpose.
Yes.
You know, and it's I think it's been a blessing that because that philosophy is so deep rooted into very practical elements of how we're structured in terms of people who serve on our executive committee, staff members who work here, volunteers linked to the organisation, are all people who are in touch with the local community, the makeup of the local community.
Yeah. I like the idea of building bridges because we're not a finished article. We're not. We're organic. Because needs change, and I like the idea that we're always looking out for the change in attitudes. And over the years, I mean, I'm no spring chicken, but over the years, attitudes have changed. Now, if it wasn't for this organisation amongst many others, people's attitudes could be detrimental to getting along together, or, like Building Bridges work, we facilitate getting along together. Does that make?
Yes.
Is that making sense? So that because of this organisation, we're reaching out to people, we're embracing what's going on in our community, but we're also trying to bring direction that Asians and Christians are going to be together. We've seen in the last few years, we've had people from Europe, especially Polish, immigration, and people's views on immigrations have changed. But again, we need to embrace what's happening, be willing to change and to meet local needs again. And I like the idea of this organisation that wants to look out and see what new needs are coming. So we're not fixed in the Christian and Muslim community. It's an interfaith, it's a multicultural society, And over the years, it is going to grow. So in 10 years' time, I wonder what it's going to look like in Pendle. But we've got to be prepared for that, and prepared to bring good out of that.
Yeah.
Because when this, I know from a church background, if you mention change in a church, people are mortified sometimes. If you mention moving the piano from one side to the other side of the room, we've got to have a committee meeting on that, because people are reluctant to change. But change happens,
Yeah.
and we've got to be prepared for that.
Yes, and that's very important.
Changing needs.
As an organisation, you have to be open to adapt to the changing needs of the local community. And you spoke about the influx of immigration, and how that changes the makeup of the community, and what demands that will bring upon established organisations or schools, and people need to start to think about how to cater for the needs of the changing face of the community. And it could be events or incidents that happen in any corner of the world that travel through news that travels through media, and how that impacts on people's attitudes and behaviours towards each other. And that sense of openness is very, very important, as well as being prepared for change, or being in touch with the makeup of your community. And I think for groups like Building Bridges, the fact that we are in touch with the statutory bodies who have, the kind of a sense of catering for the needs of the local community. So we're aware from that perspective as to what are the needs in terms of whether it's looking at the borough-wide scale, or looking at more macro levels of ward-based needs for communities. But then we have our own outlets through our own work that keeps us in touch with our community. And I think it's very important that within all elements of our initiatives, we always have this openness and design to get local people involved in the delivery of our work, or to ensure that we have a contribution from them, some kind of feedback system, to make sure that our work is relevant to what they feel that the local needs are. So it's kind of combining what research may have been done from kind of statutory bodies or private enterprises. So you have that information, you have that knowledge, census data, for example, about demographics, but then from our own kind of organic ventures that kind of are more kind of bottom up, growing from an input from the very people that we serve. And whichever element of our work that we can take, whether it's about education within schools, or whether it's our cohesion work with the wider community, or it's work with the local college, there's always that element of keeping in touch with our beneficiaries, not only within that initiative, but between initiatives. We have networks that we've created ourselves based on trust and relationship. And when we want to kind of run an initiative, we have got people who will be interested in coming on board because of that trust and relationship. Again, it just keeps us in touch with the needs of the local community, and that adds strength to you as an organisation, because the statutory bodies or many other groups who exist to serve local communities, whether it's, it could be schools or it could be health services, don't have that level of access.
Well, I see it as vital, not only value, but vital. Like, the more we talk, the more it gives me a real passion and to want to serve, our community through building bridges.